And good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Hoops HD Championship Week Video Notebook, day number 8, the first day of the second week of the single week that is Championship Week. If that makes any sense.
I mean, it's the 8th day of Championship Week. It's unbelievable how fast it's going.
It really is. We're 8 days in. We have just finished the second Monday night of Championship Week. I'm your host, though, Chad Sherwood, joined by David Griggs and John Stalika. This is where we go over the news and notes that have been going on in college basketball. We review the conference tournament games of the night. We preview the following night. We update our tournament survival board.
Yeah, and let's get going. Let's get going into the conference tournament action. Let's go.
Mailbag.
Oh!
We have a couple mailbag questions again tonight. And the first one comes from looks like it's from Rick from Houston. Asks, John, you're a Cincinnati. You're a Xavier guy, but you live in Cincinnati, so this one may kind of apply to you a little bit. He's asking about the American Conference, and if Cincinnati or SMU ends up winning the American tournament, do you think they have a shot at a 4 seed in the protected seed range there?
At a number 4 seed, I would say Cincinnati might have slightly more of a chance, even though SMU actually won by a full game. But the problem there is the Mustangs didn't really have anything to hang their hat on outside of conference. I mean, if you look at Cincinnati, they do have the win over Xavier, even though that's kind of fading by the day. But they also have the Iowa State win in their back pocket, which helps them quite a bit.
Yeah, that Iowa State win is money.
We have one other question. This is just the entirety of Hoops HD, actually. So I guess this is an open question for all three of us. It says, Dear Hoops HD, I'm going to have a lot of free time on my hands very soon. Are you hiring? Signed, Tim from Nebraska. Are we hiring? Tim from Lincoln, Nebraska. Yeah.
I'm not the human resources department here.
David, are we hiring?
What? I don't. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it depends on who it is.
It's Tim.
They're not going. He's not going to have any free time.
That reminds me. I also have one other email here.
Into the Final Four here.
It says new sign-in from Internet Explorer on Windows. It's from Angry Frank. Which one of you punks hacked my email and posted that Monmouth garbage?
Yeah, I don't know. We can't quite read that, actually. So it did not come through at all, John, so we have to pull that one down.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and move into, actually, news and notes. We don't have much because we weren't at regular season games. One piece of information that we missed during our bracket rundown show that we did earlier tonight, and you can see it down below us somewhere on the website. Middle Tennessee, we had a little bit of a discussion about them. David, they cracked the top 25 in the coaches poll today.
Oh, they did?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Number 26 in the AP, 25 in the coaches poll. So if we were still doing under the radar shows, they would not be under the radar anymore.
Right. Well, I think they've cracked more than that. Again, now everyone's going to fall in love with them and start talking about them as a dark horse and how they're this best kept secret that they've known about all year long and how you have to watch out for them and how the committee should take them, which the committee should. But well deserving of it, really. Good for them.
Meanwhile, there was also one correction I need to make from last night. I was citing some former Fordham transfers. I had mistakenly referred to Eric Paschal as transferring to Vermont. Of course, meant to say Villanova. So the Hoops HD staff regrets the error.
I don't regret the error. Do you regret the error, David?
Not really.
Yeah, just you, Sleepy. You know that.
But that's good for Middle Tennessee.
Everything right here, but
right.
Most things are right, and when we're not right, we should just ignore anything else you hear.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and get to the games that were played today, and we'll start with the first of the conference tournament, well, not the first, but the most exciting of the conference tournament championships today, at least. The Metro Atlantic title game between Siena and Iona. David, hell of a game here.
Yeah, it was. It was back and forth the whole way. Lots of exciting plays, lots of streaks and runs, and went into overtime. And Tim Cluse, it's disappointing that we can't have fun with him the way that we used to. Clusing is no longer a thing because they no longer Cluse anymore. Fantastic job that he's done at Iona this year. We weren't expecting much of anything out of them. To finish, I think, third in the conference, to improve significantly as the year progressed, and then at the end of the day to pick up yet another conference championship and be back in the NCAA tournament. And this is a young Iona team. I mean, how they might be capable of making quite a bit of noise next year and maybe not even needing the automatic bid.
Well, you mentioned a term there, clusing, that most people probably that are watching don't have any idea what you just meant by that, David.
Well,
but it's a kind of an ongoing joke we've had for a few years now about Iona, that they've had a tendency in recent years to get very big leads in games and just completely fall apart, which is what they did in the NCAA tournament the year they got an at-large.
Yes,
so,
and several other times throughout that season and the next season, but none more conspicuous than that one.
I think this is what our football counterparts would call Clemsoning.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Iona now into the NCAA tournament, and I think they're going to be a very dangerous team and a very tough out for whoever does get them.
Yeah, and I mean, they won at Siena, so they definitely earned that bid.
Mm-hmm. We also gave out an automatic bid tonight for an even better team than Iona. That's this UNC Wilmington team, a team we've been talking about, a team we were asking for the past week or so whether or not they could get an at-large bid if they did lose in this conference tournament. John, it doesn't matter. They won it, and they won it in Charleston against the College of Charleston.
And they also won it quite more comfortably than a 9-point margin would suggest. So, I mean, at this point, they're probably going to be getting at least a 12, maybe an 11 deciding, depending on what the committee decides to do with the Seahawks.
Yeah, and David, this is the type of team that you should be picking to win the first-round game. You agree?
Yeah. I've been big on this team all year long. I think we all have. They've never – I don't think they've ever really been ranked lower than third in our under-the-radar top 10, and they were first a lot of the time. I was a little surprised that our committee did not put them inside the bubble on the bracket show that we did earlier tonight. I think they certainly belong there. I get that I understand that the real committee might not see it this way, but this is a team that has won a lot of games away from home and a lot of games that are not easy to win, and they're dangerous. They didn't get the win at Clemson earlier in the year. That was actually kind of a disappointing showing. They didn't just not win. They just didn't play well. It was one of their off nights. But they went up against a good College of Charleston team, and they pretty much flattened them.
All right. One more conference championship game tonight, and that was the Southern Conference, where East Tennessee State, as I predicted last night and as everybody other than John believed, took care of UNC Greensboro. David, they kind of led most of this game. Greensboro kept trying to get back into it and hung around, even had a shot there late, but the Bucks back in the tournament again.
Yeah, a real fun game to watch, and a nice one for East Tennessee State. It's been a minute since they've been into the tournament. So, actually, they'd been there more recently than Greensboro, but I believe this is their first SoCon championship since rejoining the SoCon. So, good job.
I think you would have to go back to 2004 or 2005 for East Tennessee. Yeah. Greensboro would have been their first trip since 2001 when Fran McCaffrey was still coaching there.
Right. So congratulations to East Tennessee State. This is another team that, even though they were the 3 seed, I've been saying all year they're the best team in this conference. In fact, they've been in all my brackets in the last several weeks as my automatic bid out of this conference, despite what their seed has been. So I think they are the best team, and I think that this is going to be another very dangerous team in the first round. That's it for the champions. Let's go move to some of the conferences that were in the semifinal round, and we'll start out in the Horizon League, which goes to the championship game tomorrow night. And we started with Northern Kentucky Youngstown, which John, maybe it wasn't even as close as that 10-point score.
Well, this one, it looked like Northern Kentucky was going to run away on a couple occasions in the second half, but Youngstown State still managed to trim it down on a couple of occasions. I want to say they got as close as 4 or 5 before the Norse were finally able to salt this one away.
Yeah. The other game, though, David, where the hell was this Milwaukee team all year that I've seen the last 4 days?
I don't know, but it's been unbelievable. It is kind of crazy. I mean, they're playing in this NBA arena, and it's this real cavernous atmosphere. As fun as it's been to watch Milwaukee, I do kind of miss this at campus sites. I think it would be amazing if NKU were hosting this game. Maybe they wouldn't be hosting it if it were still at campus sites, but you know, all this stuff about, well, what about fans who want to travel there? Well, where were the fans? There were no fans there, yet when this tournament was at campus sites, there were fans at every game.
With the exception of a few notable games in 1984, Joe Louis Arena hasn't really been an NBA arena.
Okay. Well, whatever it is, it's bigger than what.
Let's talk with the Milwaukee team. 23 losses on the year. This was not a team that was anywhere close to being anything this season. 23 losses. I did a little research. The most losses that I could find for an NCAA tournament team ever was 21. I'm not going to give you a 100% guarantee that was correct, but it looks like 21 losses was the record. They would shatter it by two losses if they find a way to beat NKU tomorrow. So the question is, can they do it?
No. Well, yeah. I mean, I suppose the way they've been playing this week, but NKU looked pretty good in their game today. They won rather handily, although, like you said, Youngstown did make it exciting at the end. I think Northern Kentucky gets it done. We picked them to win the tournament before it started, and although we didn't quite see this being their path, I'm not backing off because they're playing the 10th place team.
John, you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Milwaukee can win it, but I don't think they do.
Okay, so we got that game is one of the 4 championship games coming up tomorrow. We also have the championship game coming up, Tuesday night, I guess we'll call it, in the Summit League, where South Dakota and South Dakota State played a really fun game tonight. Back and forth at the end there. South Dakota State did pull off the upset, very mild upset, especially considering they had a lot more fans in the crowd than South Dakota did.
Yeah. What was your take on that? I was surprised because, when these two teams played during the year, both games were, I think it was 1 and 2 points. I mean, both games were settled by 2 points or less. I was surprised, and the fans, when South Dakota was at home, it was full of South Dakota fans and vice versa. This game, it seemed like it was 80-20, which that surprised me. Is South Dakota South Dakota State really that much more supported than South Dakota? I never got that impression before, but it was noticeably in their favor.
And I'm going to go out on a limb and guess they're going to be a lot more supported than Omaha will be tomorrow night.
Yes.
Yeah, Omaha did cruise over IUPUI there. It wasn't even as close as that 28-point final, but I think it's going to be a good game tomorrow night. I think Omaha is the slightly better team, but South Dakota State's going to have the home crowd, so I think it's going to be a fun one.
Yeah, but that South Dakota State-South Dakota game was great. I actually hate that South Dakota lost it. It's the best team they've had maybe ever since transitioning up to Division I. You kind of hate to see it come to an end like that, but it was a good win for South Dakota State.
Yeah. We're in semifinal day of the America East, where Albany finally got the revenge for that regular season loss at the game they fell apart at Stony Brook and picked up the win.
Yeah,
it was a close game most of the way. It was a fun game to watch, though, David.
Yeah, it was. Albany again. Both Stony Brook and Albany better than expected this year. I think maybe not so much Stony Brook, or maybe not so much Albany, but Stony Brook, considering what they lost, including their coach, but. Albany's looked pretty good in this tournament. I just don't see them winning at New Hampshire tomorrow.
Yeah, well,
or Saturday. I'm sorry.
They're playing Vermont because of New Hampshire just wasn't even in this tournament. So Vermont Vermont is going to be. It's not going to be till Saturday morning, but Vermont will be hosting Albany. We just not going to talk about anything else related to any other teams over this game.
How much of this is a live wire Vermont team? If they get up to the 13 or 12 line, I think they're good enough to make somebody sweat.
I agree with you, and I think we lost John there for a minute. Hopefully, we'll get him back here in a second. David, we're going to get back to the West Coast Conference in a second here. We're going to take a couple of conferences out of order. We actually cheated and started this show a little bit before that last game went final, although it just did. MidAmerican Conference, they first-round games where chalk actually held in all four of them, although we had a good game between Western Michigan and Miami, Ohio, a real fun game between Eastern Michigan and Northern Illinois. And if you could put up with the garbage streaming run by Kent State, and yes, I'm attacking them, this was an amazing game in this 116-106 overtime game. A few stats from there. Kent State had 40 points at halftime. Added another 51 in the second half and 25 more in overtime, which in 5 minutes of overtime scored 25 points. All kinds of scoring records set in this game, though. John, what were your thoughts on the first round of the MAC today?
Well, I think one of the stats that have been thrown around was Eastern Michigan actually advancing to Cleveland for the third straight year.
All right.
It doesn't say much about their program that they're celebrating that fact, but
and this is the first time they've played the opening rounds on campus in a while. They
do this every year. They do.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just the first round.
Yeah, but I have a soft spot for this conference and this tournament for whatever reason, and I will say this: it's off to a great start. We've already seen 3 games that were heads and tails better than anything we saw out of Arch Madness.
I agree with that completely.
Yeah.
Well, I'll get back for a sec. Let's go to the West Coast Conference where the game did go final just moments ago. You can see it hasn't been fully updated on the screen there yet, but John, Gonzaga, as you told us, and we didn't think you were right, but you were. I'll give you credit for that. Gonzaga did get a test out of Santa Clara, who kept it close at least. And then St. Mary's obliterated BYU.
I'll admit they probably could have gone about 30 or 35 minutes, but here the final score actually was indicative of how the game went.
Yeah, it was. David, obviously it doesn't quite say on the screen there, but it is Gonzaga and St. Mary's tomorrow night, round 3.
Yeah.
Do the Zags make it 3 for 3 against the Gale?
They do. I think they've kind of been sleepwalking until this. They don't like St. Mary's. I think they're going to get energized for it. And I was impressed with how St. Mary's played. I know part of that is BYU not being nearly as good, but I just can't see Gonzaga losing tomorrow.
You agree with him, John?
I agree. It's going to be the third win for the Zags this year.
Up and there it is. So just went live there.
Right, yeah.
St. Mary's just advanced.
All right. Good time. All right.
Let's go ahead and head over to the MEAC, the only other conference that was in action today, where we saw North Carolina A&T, a Centenary Award candidate for the worst team in D1, actually had a halftime lead on Eastern Shore, and then the wheels fell off, though.
And I was excited because I picked A&T to win this tournament.
But we did have an upset in the other game there. Howard knocking off Coppin State.
Yep. And crazy things happen in this tournament. So we've got Cookman, Delaware State tomorrow, and, South Carolina State, FAMU. A team we've talked about briefly, but they did get the win the night, and they were Centenary-esque up until a few years ago. But that's this Maryland Eastern Shore team. They've improved incrementally, and
Bobby Collins has done an amazing job.
Yeah, Bobby Collins has done an amazing job there, and it'll be fun to see what they can do against Hampton. I'd like to see them get to the semis.
And this is another team that would be a first-time NCAA tournament appearance if they're able to advance out of the MEAC.
It's just kind of the way the format of this conference works. The 2 teams that won today will actually have the next 2 days off. the 8, 9, and 7, 10 games are tomorrow, and then the games involving the 1 and the 2 seeds the next day. So 2 games a night here. So we'll be talking a lot of MEAC going ahead. We have one more championship game coming up tomorrow night that we haven't discussed yet. They didn't play tonight, but it is the Northeast Conference Tournament title game night. And David, I'm real excited for this one, SFPA at St. Mary's.
Well, this whole tournament's been tremendous. And, we knew it would be. The whole season is great because there's home court advantage on the line. And the tournament's been great. And, yes, I'm really excited for this one as well. St. Mary's, Pennsylvania getting here, St. Francis University getting here. God, it's late. Getting here in the most dramatic fashion with their win against Wagner, and Mount St. Mary's trying to get back to the NCAA tournament themselves, most likely heading to Dayton.
Yeah, John, I did pick Mount St. Mary's to win this, but after the way SFPA won that semifinal, do you think they're going to be able to do it again? Just kind of like, Team of Destiny almost at this point?
I don't think they're going to, blow people away, but I still think Mount St. Mary's is going to finish the job at home.
Okay. Conference tip it off tomorrow. There are the first round games before a day off because they're playing the women's tournament at the same site, but we have the first round games in the Big Sky tournament tomorrow night. Portland State against Northern Arizona. We've also got Sacramento State and Idaho State, Montana State and Southern Utah. And I'm going to fix things here for our friends at CBS. That's where the game's played. It's a little bit messed up there.
Well, we can also thank Northern Colorado for at least sparing us another first-round game.
Well, let me start with the first-round games. John, do you predict an upset in any of these 3 games tomorrow?
If you can call Northern Arizona an upset.
That's fair enough. Didn't Northern Arizona knock off Eastern Washington in the regular season finale?
They did.
Correctly. But David, whenever we start a new conference, we like to ask the question of who we think is going to win the conference. Who do you have in this one?
I like Eastern Washington. I realize Northern Arizona beat them in a surprising game at the end of the year, but I still think that they're the best team out of this group.
John, where are you going?
I'm not taking Weber State because they've fallen off the map of late, but I think even with the regular season hiccup, I'd still go with Eastern Washington here.
No one's going with the Nodaks there, the Fighting Hawks in North Dakota. I think your final is going to be North Dakota Weber State, and I'm going to go with Weber to actually take this conference tournament.
Ooh, okay. I like this North Dakota team. I'd like to see them do it. If I had to pick somebody, I'm going with Eastern Washington.
But if you're looking for a high scoring output, watch Victor Sanders at Idaho, as well as someone's doppelganger.
Yeah, if you're looking for somebody to really root for that Idaho team that I play for. So
right, yes,
and my brother Nate.
Yeah, and Idaho got things started off. Remember, first exhibition game.
Yes, first exhibition game involved Idaho. Way back. Also starting things off tomorrow is the SWAC. First round, quarterfinal round day in the SWAC. New format here. These 4 games will be played on campus sites before they all go to the 4 remaining teams go to Houston on Friday and Saturday. Game times, actually, there's missing a few game times there. That Texas Southern game's at 8:30 Eastern start. The Prairie View game's at 9 o'clock Eastern start. But Alabama State and Texas Southern, Grambling Prairie View, Jackson State Southern, and Mississippi Valley State Alcorn State.
Yeah.
The note here on Alcorn State, under an APR postseason ban, should they win this conference tournament, whoever they beat in the finals will get the bid, which means that should they make the finals, whoever comes out of the top half of that bracket gets the bid.
Right.
David, any upsets coming tomorrow?
Yes. Okay. I am calling it now. Grambling is going to win the game, and I'm taking Grambling to win in the quarterfinals. That's as far as I have.
Aren't you tempted to take Grambling to make it to the championship game and lose there to Alcorn State and thus get in?
That would be so fitting. That would be, yeah.
I think I'm going to go that way just because I don't really think they're the best team. I think Texas Southern is head and shoulders above everybody here. But that would be such a Grambling way to get in for their first ever bid.
Yeah.
John, where are you going with this conference?
I think Grambling and Mississippi Valley State actually get some upsets tomorrow, and I'll actually go with Southern to win the conference here.
Wow. So none of us want think Mike Davis is going to win this.
Yeah, but he's been the coach of the conference since he got there. So.
Yeah, this Mississippi Valley State team red hot. They won 3 or 4 games in a row to stave off elimination and make it into the top 8 to qualify for the conference tournament. So I would not be shocked if they pulled off that one tomorrow, John.
Yeah.
And also keep in mind, if Mississippi Valley State wins, Alcorn State will not have to come off the survival board since they're already off.
That is correct. One more conference starting. It's a fairly minor one. It's the Atlantic Coast something or other.
Yes.
First round day tomorrow in the ACC. I saved this one for last. Obviously, it's including a pair of afternoon games for those that want to leave work early.
These are the Les Robinson / Steve Donahue games in the first round.
Yeah, there is actually, I would think the most important game is this Wake Forest BC game. Not that Wake gains any points for beating BC, but they avoid a bad loss that could be catastrophic for their profile, David.
Yeah, they do, and I think they kind of need that one. Well, they don't need the win; they just can't really afford the loss.
Right. Georgia Tech, Pitt, Clemson, NC State. Georgia Tech and Clemson pretty much out of the picture at this point, so I don't think they're playing for any at-large consideration. But John, you want to pick an upset in tomorrow's games?
Oh, I actually think Georgia Tech and Pittsburgh is the important one because if the Yellow Jackets are going to make hay, it's now or never, and wins against Virginia or Notre Dame have a good opportunity to help put them back in the picture.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. If Georgia Tech is playing in the semifinals, we can discuss them again.
Right.
But they're not getting past Virginia, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
They may not get past Pitt. In fact, I can do it right now. I'm going to call Pitt to win this game, David.
I don't think there's going to be ups. I'm sorry. Go ahead, David.
Oh, no, I was going to be like, I want Pitt out of the picture. So nothing against Pitt. It's just we don't need any more teams.
I was just going to say, I don't think there's going to be upsets tomorrow, but watch out if Clemson advances against Duke because that one just reeks of an upset special right there.
It more reeks of Clemson, having a shot to win it at the end and blowing it.
Yeah. Clemson's going to win this tournament, and because it's just law of averages, they have to.
Well, let me ask you that, David. Is Clemson your pick to win this tournament?
Sure, why not? Clemson is my pick to win this tournament. I believe in the law of averages, and they have to. I mean, everything evens out in the end, and in order for things to even out for Clemson, they have to make the Final Four.
John.
I'm actually going to go with the Louisville Cardinals to win the tournament here.
I'll tell you the problem I have, if you look at the balance of power, you got Carolina, Louisville, Duke, Syracuse, Miami, all in the top half of the bracket. I think whoever comes out of the bottom half is going to have an easier path and therefore win it. And I'm going to go with Virginia. I'm going to go with Virginia out of the 6th seed there to take this. Knock off Notre Dame and Florida State along the way, which I think is an easier path that a team like Duke or Louisville would have.
Oh, boy.
But something tells me the Puppet's going to be a big Miami fan on Wednesday.
It doesn't matter. They're getting in.
Last thing we got to do for the evening is update our survival board. This is it right here as of last night. We had 236 teams remaining. Before I get to the description of the board, let's go ahead and describe what the board means first. David, you always do that every night.
Yes, well, this is a tool that is available to the selection committee. They have the internet in the room, so they could easily log on to this page and it's a guide. It shows them who they should be considering, who they should be taking, and who they shouldn't be considering unless they win the automatic bid. There we see Winthrop, who's already won the Big South Championship. They're bold in all caps. The other teams like Maryland, Minnesota, that are bold, and those are teams that haven't won automatic bids, but they're locks for bids anyway. The italics teams are teams that the committee needs to be considering. Maybe you take them, maybe you don't. And then everybody else that's in normal type, as soon as they lose in the conference tournament, like losing you're screwed, as we call it, they're going to be eliminated. So you don't even need to worry about them unless they win the conference tournament. And again, we do this for the selection committee can come here. They come to this site, and it tells them what they need to be doing. The work's done for them.
I wonder if the teams in italics, what we do is we assume that they're going to win out to the conference tournament title game before they come out of italics. That's why, like a team like Indiana that really doesn't have a shot, if they made the Big Ten title game, they may get back in that at-large picture. So we have not taken them out of italics yet.
And then there's a team like Monmouth who doesn't have any games left to play.
Yeah, but
up top here, I just wanted to make this note here. I made a little change to this today. In fact, we've had total of heading into today, we had 38 teams that were either champions or locks, which left 30 spots in our field. 19 of those, there's 19 conferences that did not have a champion or a lock yet, which meant that you do the math here, subtract the 19 from the 30. There are up to 11 more teams that could still get in that are not yet bolded. So throughout large bids. So let's go ahead and update this by seeing what happened as a result of today's games. And 20 teams fell off the board there. 219 teams left. 41 teams are now champions or locks. 27 spots left. At least 16 will go to one single bid league, so 11 more, maximum of 11 more at-large bids. We can scroll down here and see some of the results from today, which include UNC Wilmington. Lock in there.
Good for them.
2 teams left in the horizon, Northern Kentucky and Wisconsin, Milwaukee. Neither one with an at-large shot, though.
Right.
Even down here, the West Coast Conference, 2 teams left, Gonzaga and St. Mary's. BYU, we had them under consideration, but they fell off of that picture.
Yeah.
East Tennessee State locked in now as well. Let me go ahead and pull the board down here. And John, any other final thoughts for the evening?
Looks like we're not having the same level of chaos that we had about this time last year as far as number 1 seeds failing to advance. I mean, so far the only number 1s that have failed to win their conference tournaments are Belmont, Oakland, South Dakota, UNC Greensboro, and Monmouth. But of those teams, only Monmouth has a realistic shot.
That's a nice pile of teams, considering that we only have 7 bids locked up so far, John, and 6 teams out. I would have to say we do have chaos, especially when you look at
the Horizon League is the definition of chaos, right?
Yeah, the Horizon League, the Summit League, Monmouth falling in the Metro Atlantic. I think we do have the chaos, so I would kind of disagree with that. David, any other thoughts?
Yeah, it's just Nebraska Omaha tomorrow going after their first ever NCAA tournament bid, and it's just the greatness of Tim Miles resonating up to Omaha. It's just a spectacular thing to see.
Now, on the other hand, here's my counterpoint. There are 3 number 1 seeds that actually did win their conference tournaments: Wilmington, Winthrop, and Florida Gulf Coast. We only had 1 at this point last year. Although we can also count Wichita State as 1B thanks to a coin flip in the Missouri Valley.
I think we've got the chaos. I think we've had an incredible first half of championship week, the first half of the week, so the first 7 days of it. I think we're going to be in for even more fun this next week here as all the major conferences kick off and we decide the final bubble spots. But
10 miles.
As we mentioned, there is a bracket rundown show down below us on the website. We will have another video notebook again late night tomorrow night, and we're going to start updating you come Wednesday night about what's going on with our Hoops HD mock selection committee or real selection committee, however you want to define it. But again, on behalf of John Sleeka and David Griggs over there, I'm Chad Sherwood. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you again tomorrow night.